Today we're going to continue working on geometry, looking at a bunch of definitions. And these are words, some of you may be familiar with them, some of them are probably a little bit newer. We just want to look here at this first list of words. These are all the ones that we've already looked at this week. A line segment, as endpoints, whereas a line continues on forever in each direction. A point is just a dot or place in space. An array has one endpoint and continues on in the other direction. Now, looking at these words here, perpendicular, bisector, midpoint, perpendicular bisector, and parallel. Those are the words we're going to be looking at today. I've got our page pulled up here so that we can take a look at it together. And we'll talk, you will explain some things as we look over the pages together. All right, so this first page that we're looking at, perpendicular lines. It tells us here that perpendicular lines meet at a right angle or 90 degrees. And this symbol is an upside down T, means perpendicular. So in order for something to be perpendicular, they both have to be lines. So we identify a line with two letters. So this tells us that line AB, it's this one here, is perpendicular to line ST. Or here we have EG is perpendicular to ZF. So this first part here, you need to name the perpendicular lines, always naming your lines with two letters. In question 2, if they are perpendicular, you're going to draw that square corner. You can use a sticky note or a corner of paper to check if they are perpendicular. Question 3, you've got some descriptions and some diagrams to identify those two things there. And the next page we're skipping, then looking at page 107, our title here is perpendicular bisector. So we just learned what the word perpendicular means. It means we're meeting two lines meeting at a right angle. The word bisector, so whenever we see bi in a word, we know that it's going to mean two, like a bicycle. This has two wheels. And when we see this sector, we can think about something being divided into two sections. So to bisect is to cut something into two parts. So here we've got this line AB, and M is the midpoint, so it's exactly halfway across. Now, if I cut that line down the middle there, I am bisecting it. I'm cutting line AB into two parts, AM and MB. So when we have a line that goes through the midpoint, it bisects the other line. So here, all these diagonal lines, all of them bisect line AB because they all go through the midpoint. And how I know that that's the midpoint is by these little hash marks. When I see those two little lines there, that tells me that this side of the line, so from A to that middle point, is the same as this to B. We can see that here marked DC. It's going to be the same length as CB. So C is the midpoint of DC. Sorry, C is the midpoint of DB. Okay, so that's what a bisector is. Now we're going to add the word perpendicular to that. So a perpendicular bisector is shown here. We've got the line AB, we've got our midpoint M, and I've got a new line drawn through it. We can see that it's marked as those being the same length. So this line is a bisector because it cuts it in half and is at a right angle. So it is a perpendicular bisector. So question 6 and 7 are asking you to draw. Since we don't have protractors, we're going to be skipping those, but you're going to be looking at question 8, where we're looking at this diagram here. You need to remember that whenever we are labeling a line, we're going to need to use two letters. So for example, 8A says D is the midpoint of, so if I look here, this line, I'm pretty sure that's an H in your book, it just didn't scan very well. And we can see those symbols there that show that those lines are the same length. So that means D is the midpoint of this whole line, which would be BH. So you need to put the B and the H, right? If you're identifying a line, you need two letters. If you're just looking for an intersection point, like in this one, the intersection point of CE and FG would be this point here, point D. And then we're going to scroll on over here to the next set of pages here, where instead of perpendicular lines, we're looking at parallel lines. Parallel lines never intersect, no matter how far they extend in either direction. And then the symbol we use for for parallel lines is that we put those little arrows on. If we put the little arrows on, we know that those two lines are parallel. And they've shown that here in a parallelogram. The top and the bottom are parallel, and the sides are parallel. So in question 4, we're asked to write on the ones that are parallel. And here, this symbol is going to be the symbol we use to write that lines are parallel. So AB is parallel to XY. And then this last page here asks us to mark some parallel lines and then write which ones they are. So EF is parallel to WX.